Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Maiga here, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Maiga Vidal. I'm a musical theater writer, and on this channel, I take you through the process of writing a musical from page to stage. So the adage goes is that it takes about 7 years to write a musical, and I have been vlogging the entire process of writing my new original musical, Café con Leche, here, and we have finished year 2. Woo! If you're new here, I started writing CCL, which is Café con Leche, May 27th of 2021. So I start the calendar year for the musical in May for that reason. It's crazy to think how much has changed and happened in the last year. And I've been teasing it for a while, especially online and in these videos, but I did apply to NYU and I got the results, and I'm going to be sharing that with you at the end of this video. Very excited to kind of bookend this year sort of the same way that I did last year with like a big application. Enough preamble. I do want to sort of start this video by going over Maiga's 1-year plan, which is this video I made. Let's see how I did. I wanted to do a draft 2 of Act 1 for Café con Leche before May ended. Y'all, I tried my best. If you saw my writing a page every day for my musical experiment, which I posted right before this, I really tried to write Act 1 in a month. This is the first scene of the show. As you can see, I've gone through it, really trying to make the book of the show work, but it's just not done. It's taking longer than I would want. And because I had so many goals this year, I actually didn't start rewriting it until after I had done the CCL performance. So that did not happen. But I keep forgetting that I wrote a whole other musical this year, Star Signs. It's a 4-person musical. It's currently on the back burner. To me, the show is currently unfixable and I don't like the premise that I wrote, but I did write a whole other musical. I actually used one of those songs for an application because I actually really love the premise of that song, and I want to find a way to save the songs I wrote, because I wrote a concept album about Star Signs a couple of years ago, as you can see, like 3 years ago, and I wanted to turn that into a musical in year 2 because I needed more material to submit for BMI, which I'll get to. Again, if you've been here for the last year, you know that the big goal was to apply to BMI, but spoiler alert, I'm not applying this year. I know. I wrote a whole other musical, had a reading for it, recorded a demo of it. So I keep being like really hard on myself about Café con Leche and about it like not being done yet, but I wrote a whole other musical. If you are on my Patreon, you can actually watch the whole performance if you want. I also wrote a whole new song for the Back at Home project, which if you are watching this in the month of June is currently open. And I wrote one of my favorite songs this year, which I actually shared here in my little experiment, writing a song in Spanish, which I did sometime last year. Out of that demo, I wrote a whole entire scene around it. I just love that piece of work so much, and I'm so proud of it. And I never would have written it if it weren't for the gang at the Back at Home project. So please go check out the Back at Home project. Nathan has done a great job of running it, and you can see work from our other members. It's one of those things that I just didn't have time to like work behind the scenes in anymore. But if you're watching this and you're a songwriter or a musical theater writer and you want to write for this, make sure to check them out over on their Instagram. I'll link it below. However, that means my second goal for that was to host a stage reading of the musical on my channel over on Twitch. For several reasons, I have been unable to stream the way that I used to in year 1 of writing a musical and even at the beginning of year 2. So having an open stream of my musical online for my Twitch audience did not happen. The cards didn't play out right. But I got something even better in my opinion. I had my first ticketed performance of Café con Leche, my 15-minute excerpt, which you can watch here, and which you can also like watch my deep dive video of how I applied to it and how I got it, everything that was required if that's something you're interested in, sort of the behind the scenes process of what it takes for a musical to get on stage, even if it's just 15 minutes. That was something I wasn't expecting. I really threw Café con Leche out there, and I really do feel like taking a chance on my show and having it be done professionally has led to a huge avalanche and an increase in quality of my work. Another big goal, and sort of the whole reason why I wanted to do that stage reading musical, was I wanted to apply for the Dramatists Guild. Now, there are some free events that the Dramatists Guild does hold, like End of Play, which I talked about in my last video, but I really wanted to be part of that community, apply for potential grants and have access to that rehearsal space. And because of CCL's ticketed performance, I had 2 performances where people paid money to see it, I actually qualify for the Dramatists Guild. So I can apply if I want to. So I'm actually going to give myself a yes for this one. However, in talking with John about it, and sort of the next step in my career, I'm just not at the right place right now to actually spend that money and do that. Next goal was I wanted to listen to 30 new cast recordings this year. And while I did listen to several new cast recordings, with my favorite this year being Strange Loop, I did not hit my 30 new cast recording goal. And then, right before we get to the BMI section, let's get to the elephant in the room, the music theory. I had this whole plan to tackle music theory study. I wanted to do like keyboard theory, score theory, piano playing, and I have found that I have done actually none of that. This has been the year where I have actually touched the piano the least, except during application season. I couldn't do everything. I had to prioritize, something had to give. And that's music theory study. Now, I did all these goals, as I've mentioned, to prepare for the BMI application, but I wanted this so badly, and I still do, that I built my entire next year in building my portfolio and sort of attacking the criticisms that I received from the board that was there. But for that very reason, I'm actually not applying to BMI this year. So let's talk about NYU. This has been sort of the big thing, especially at the beginning of this year. It is currently June 11th. We are 6 months into the year, and I've been working on this NYU application since January. It was due February 1st, and I heard back in March, actually. When CCL had its first live performance, literally like an hour or two before, while I was having lunch with my husband, I found out that I got in. It's really crazy to think about, like, somebody of like my background getting in. I didn't get waitlisted. I went in like, first round, and it validated all of my work. And I'm happy to report that if everything goes according to plan, just some things waiting to come through, I will be attending NYU's graduate musical theater writing program in the fall. I'm gonna make a whole video about the process of applying to this, because as someone who doesn't know anyone else who's applied to this program except Mario, outside of him, I literally know no one else who's done this. The people in the faculty are fucking unreal. They're like living my dream. I've come a long way from the BMI rejection, because even in that rejection, it's like you're writing at a level, we just didn't have space for you. And in this situation, it was like, you are writing at the level and we do have space. And they were really adamant about trying to create a class environment. And it just felt so good to be like, I'm gonna have friends and I'm gonna have community of people who write musicals, and I'm gonna be in New York City. Like, I'm going to be in the room where it happens. It's literally been my dream school since I was a freshman in high school. NYU just wasn't possible for me at the undergraduate level. I was just too poor for that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very poor, but at least now I'm a graduate student. I'm probably older than the average graduate student being admitted into this art program, but it's also because it's taken me longer to be able to get to this opportunity because I'm poor. And I think that's the reality of the thing. So I'm definitely going to be making a video breaking down the entire application process, because I want people to apply to this program. I want musical theater to get more diverse, and that only comes from people pioneering the way and sharing and showcasing everything that they can. And that's always been the purpose of this particular channel. As someone who has wanted to write a musical but doesn't know anyone else who's done it before and doesn't know what it takes and the process, I want to share that with everyone, and that's what I'm going to do here. So, not applying to BMI, but that's because I got into NYU. Ideally, I'd love to apply to BMI after NYU, but we'll see where the winds take me after that. As you guys know, I move a lot because of my husband's job. It's sort of the thing where everything lined up and NYU ended up being a real possibility for me. I've been very blessed to learn the BMI method through John. John graduated from the BMI program, so I haven't been missing out from the content and lecture. BMI has sort of been how I've been learning to write this whole time. And so now I get the NYU method. Now that you know that I'm going to NYU and then I got into NYU, let's talk about 2023 goals. I don't have a lot of 2023 goals for CCL. The graduate program is a 2-year program and it is very intense. I will be going to school every day, but I will be coming out with a terminal degree, which means that I will be able to teach at a university, which has sort of been the big plan for me. I would love to be an adjunct teaching anywhere in the country. So a lot of my time and energy is going to be going to surviving this and living in New York City for the first time. But it doesn't mean that I don't have goals. My first goal is I want to fill out my 5-year journal. I have this little journal. I don't know if you can see it back there. It's the orange one up against the wall. My God, I didn't realize you could see my whole fucking house. This is going to be a really intense experience, and while I'm going to be vlogging a lot of it and sharing it online, there are parts that are going to be purely for myself, and I want to remember those moments. And so writing in this journal is sort of a must for me. Not to mention, this 7-year project just turned 2 years old, so I'm hopeful that by the time this journal ends 5 years from now, CCL would have had its moment. Make it through NYU year 1. The semester ends right around the CCL 3-year mark. So it all works out in mysterious ways. For CCL in particular, I want to have a reading of Café con Leche of this second draft. I've been working every day on it. Weekly vlogs will be coming to the channel again because we are reaching that point where I need to remember what I'm doing every day, because I'm doing like high level intense cuts and script changes and beat changes, and I need the camera to talk my way through it. Draft 2 of CCL needs to be finished so I can have the reading, but I'm putting the reading above that because to me, that's what motivates me. To hear this being performed by actors means so much to me, and having it done will allow me that reading. And so that's sort of the motivator. And all of that implies, right, like I need to print the script, I need to make sheet music, I need to record the demos, all those things need to happen. And I'm trying really hard to get it done this summer because I know that once school starts, I won't have as much time as I do now to, work my way through all these edits. So I'm just working through them super fast with that in mind. And then in terms of content goals, I'm going to be posting weekly vlogs because, as I mentioned, I need to remember what I'm doing, and I want to share the NYU process with you guys, especially because I feel like when people vlog school stuff, they tend to do it for undergrad, and I want to share that graduate experience, and also because sharing the process only benefits others. And I think showing what's behind the curtain is so important, and something that I wish I had when I was trying to decide how I wanted to tackle my career. It took me so long to get here because I didn't know that this was an option for me. And it is an option for me if I had just known. And so I don't want people to not know, right? So like I'm going to be putting that in the same situation and trying to show what's behind the curtain and give people access to what they don't have. And so that's it. That is the end of year 2 of writing a musical. I can't believe I've been working on this project for 2 years. I remember at this time last year being unable to look at Café con Leche because I was so upset at my rejection and being unable to live my dream of living in the city and getting to train with the best, and really trying to course correct heavily. This last year has been a year of change and development. I feel like for the last, and during the pandemic especially, it was really like, we're gonna die. If I die, am I doing what I want? And I sort of lived in a cocoon for a while. And then once I moved out east, it's like I got my wings and this butterfly is flying off, And it just feels good to feel like I'm moving forward. I have done way more this year than I ever could have imagined, and I'm hopeful that in the following year I'll do even more than I imagined, and I will be sharing all of that with you. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Just like a little TMI here, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this, but like what it means to move to New York. It means like living apart from my husband and my dog. It means making a very serious sacrifice financially. And, it's something that I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to do, and not something that I'm going to take for granted. And I'm going to make this count. So I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for staying with me for these last 2 years, and see you around here for year 3.